Well, hello and welcome to our safety virtual panel discussion at CT. I'm Dennis Seymour, the Director of Environmental Health and Safety, and I will be the moderator for today's panel. We are hosting this event in conjunction with National Safety Month, the month of June, and today we will be speaking with leaders across the CT family of companies regarding some of the challenges, the opportunities, and successes we've had over the past few years enhancing the safety culture of our organization. It is our hope that we can share some of these key learnings and best practices with each of you. Our panelists include leaders from some of our larger divisions at CTE, and I have a wide variety of experience and exposure leading our safety initiatives across the organization. We're excited to learn more from each of them. After our discussion, we will field some questions from the audience. If you have any questions, please input those into the chat, and we will answer those as time allows. So let's meet our panelists. Gentlemen, if you wouldn't mind providing a brief introduction about yourself and your role here at CT. And we're going to start with Jimmy DeRosa from Carolina Cat.
Yep. Good afternoon, everybody. I am Jimmy DeRosa at Carolina Cat. I'm the Director of Branch Operations for the Construction Division. So have responsibility for our service department, but I'm lucky enough to also get to work with our folks in parts as well. So been with CT about 17 years.
Okay, thanks, Jimmy. Will, from Power Systems, please let us know about you.
Hey, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well today. Will Bellers from the Power Systems Division. I'm a project manager there for new sales. I work on new generators, switchgear, ATSs, anything new that comes out of the division. I know we work hand in hand with the service side too as well, but that's basically my role here at Carolina Cat. I've been here for 4 years, and right now myself and Jay Bates are the chair and co-chair of the safety council here in the Power Systems Division as well.
Okay, and finally, Jimmy McKay from Lift One.
Morning, everybody. Jimmy McKay, Lift One, Birmingham and Tuscaloosa. I've been here 26 years, oversee the day-to-day operations of service, parts, rental of Tuscaloosa and Birmingham branches, and also active member for safety committee here at both branches.
Okay, thank you for that, Jimmy. All right, so I'd like to start, some discussion and questions here. So, from each of you, what's in your divisions? What's the most common safety issues that need to be frequently addressed? And Jimmy, from Carolina Cat, I'll let you go ahead and start us.
Thanks, Dennis. So the most common safety issues, the first thing that comes to mind would be, the fact that we are constantly using cranes to lift heavy items and crib them up and position them so work can be done, get them out of their normal state, getting them up off the ground. So we've got to be very diligent about, the condition of our lifting equipment. And now we're using it safely. Along these lines also is something that our folks have to be very diligent about is that's when to use a crane, saving a couple seconds to avoid a crane and picking up an item that might be a little too heavy could end up costing you a lot of time on the back end. No pun intended there. But another big topic that we discuss a lot is metal striking. I think that one I would regret not mentioning. It's a scary one. It's something that can kind of be underestimated. So metal to metal striking, things like punches and other hand tools can shatter and turn into shrapnel. I can think of instances in the past 10 or so years where folks in this industry, have been killed as a result of that from a failed punch. It's scary. You have to inspect them often. So once you start seeing that peening process start and they start to get distorted, it's really a matter of time before that very hard but brittle metal starts coming apart. Same goes for hammers. Even the ones with sentimental value, at some point they have to be retired. Whether you dip them in bronze and hang them on the wall or whatever you got to do, at some point they got to come out of service. So that's the first few things that come to mind there, Dennis, on some of our more common stuff.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. Will, same question for you. What's y'all's most common safety issues you see out there in the power systems?
Yeah, the one thing that's a little bit different for Power Systems, I would think, would be is electrical safety and electrical hazards and stuff like that. We're racking in breakers all the time, racking in and out breakers. We deal with switchgear, transformers, you name it, basically. So that's kind of a big thing we have. It's a little bit, you can't see it, you can't hear it, and whenever it happens, it's too late. So make sure we're always doing our lockout tagouts correctly, and make sure we kind of are on top of things when we're doing, with electrical safety, because that's the big thing we have, and especially on my side from the new sales as well. We do a lot of the biggest thing we have is a lot of driving. We do a lot of windshield time too as well across the state. So that's another concern there, is to be safe driving and, vehicle incidents and whatnot. You have hand safety, a lot of our stuff is engine work, just like the other divisions as well, and switch gear. So a lot of times you take off your gloves to do work. We need to spend an extra 30 minutes on the job and do it correctly. So that's kind of a big thing there too as well. Just make sure we're doing everything correct. And another thing we have, I don't say it's a concern, but make sure always we're doing our risk assessment. And that kind of goes with everything too as well. Is not so much a concern, but we have a lot of great employees, but that also tends to have complacency there. And that's why I kind of bring up risk assessment as kind of the one thing as well.
Okay, thank you. Jimmy McKay.
So a lot of the injuries we see across Lift 1 is to do, one of the major ones is hand injury, and I know a lot of our guys are always adjusting load chains, and they have their hands in some places in a forklift that they're very dangerous, whether it's from just all the sharp edges and stuff that are their potential to get a guy cut under the hood, to out on the carriage where you're making adjustments or dealing with a heavy fork. So a lot of those and things we'll put in place is make sure the guys have cut 2 level gloves available to them at all times, and cut 4 gloves. So making sure we get the proper PPE in their hands. Another big one would be slip, trips, and falls. So when we're dealing with forklifts, it's not a question of if you ever have a hydraulic leak, it's just when. So having those spill kits available to the guys out in the field, they can clean up. So that hazard of slipping in the oil or coolant, making sure that we take the extra time, as Will said, to make sure our environment's clean and safe. We've had a few injuries where we had some back injuries where guys slid down and fell. May have been a strain. I believe we even have a couple pretty serious back injuries in the past. So making sure that we have the guys all the cleanup tools and cleanup PPE with them is essential.
Okay, thanks for that. All right, let's change the batting order up. Will, you can start this question. How do you lead compliance in your organization?
I guess what the good thing for Power Systems, what we've started here is a safety council, kind of myself as being a project manager, and we have Jay Bates, a salesman. We have technicians on it. We have rental salesmen. We have people all across our division. Basically, they're a part of this council. So what we're trying to have is a employee-led initiative. So it's not just something that's coming from the top down all the time. Is we actually have people that are actually out in the field, actually bringing up ideas, for safety initiatives that can actually happen, which is actually a good thing. I think that's kind of leading our compliance, and what that does is it leads to a more positive viewpoint on safety. We also have a little bit more ownership of it too as well. So we're in a little bit more control. So I think it does a really nice job with us working hand in hand with HR safety here at Carolina CAT.
Yeah, we enjoy working with you guys too. We are one big team. Jimmy, what about you? Jimmy McKay, what about your compliance there?
I think one thing that's made a huge impact for us is we've given the guys full authority to stop work. And what I mean by that is everybody's got a P card. Every day when a guy gets up and goes out to work, he may forget something at the house, or he may have used it up on the day before and he hadn't had a chance to replenish. So one thing that we have here is you can stop work at any time if you get to the job site and you don't have the correct jack stands, and you don't have the correct, maybe you don't have a large enough strap or chain to secure whatever you're securing, like we talked about earlier in the uprights. So this guy can stop work at any time, go to a local hardware store or a safety supply store, or come back to the branch if he needs help, if he's lifting over a certain certain amount that he doesn't feel comfortable with, then he can stop work right then and ask for somebody to come help him. Because a lot of times we deal with things like radiators, maybe doesn't seem all that heavy, but when you're trying to fish one down in the back of a counterweight, it can get kind of tricky. So those guys know that they have the P card that they can go purchase, or they got full support of their service manager or dispatcher that they can get an additional set of hands if they need. So I know that helps us lead the pack, and I think lead the way in safety at Lift One.
Okay. Jimmy DeRosa.
To lead compliance in the construction division, I would say we use standard work for our folks. So we're completely bought into the idea that, in order to get the details right day in and day out, even the most diligent folks needs to follow some sort of standard task list that just kind of sets the cadence for the critical elements of what we need to do to stay safe and helps us kind of self-audit as we go. It's really, some things are just too important to leave to chance. So it's basically just that. It's a checklist that's specific to each role in our company, and it outlines, what reoccurring tasks are to be done and when. They can be broken down daily, weekly, monthly, whatever the case may be. But when the task is completed, it's simply checked off. And when it's not completed, it's very easy to identify where we're missing the mark and what we need to double down on, what we need to change our approach on. So I would say that's one big piece in how we lead compliance to make sure we're in compliance, is to standardizing everything, agreeing on the perfect, way forward and what we have to do, documenting that, and then holding ourselves accountable to it. In addition, we work hard to make safety management very visible across our team. I'm trying to think of a good example. So if we performed an inspection in the shop, if we found an issue during an inspection, we'd capture that issue, problem solve for it, and then post that on a safety board that's reviewed before each shift. Basically, this shows us anomalies, shows us where we're being unsafe or where issues are occurring, but also holds us accountable to making those corrections and to getting things set in order. So that's how we lead compliance, is two big elements of that for us.
Yeah. And one thing we started this year too is the safety audits throughout the whole CT. And I think, we found some things, areas that we needed to improve on, but overall, we were pretty good position for being compliant. Let's move on to the next question. What has progress looked like in your organization? I know there's been a lot of changes in the last couple of years, and so how does that look in Lift One there, Jimmy?
So I think we got a first class. Anybody can look it up. We have a first class safety record, and I attribute that to when guys are onboarded, then they come in with a safety bag. We go through jacking and blocking procedures. We go through chaining the mast. Anywhere we feel like there's potential for a guy to be hurt on the job, and we go over that. And he's also assigned a mentor. So we make sure that not just where the guy goes through some classroom material, but real world, where the rubber meets the road, making sure the guy can go out in the shop and jack up a truck properly, or making sure a guy knows how to chain up a mast when he's taking a cylinder out. So that attention to detail and going the extra mile has been attributed to our success here.
Okay. Jimmy DeRosa.
Well, I'm glad you asked that one, Dennis, because it's a chance to brag a little bit on our folks. But I would say we do our best to live up to the values of CTE, and one of those is to improve always. While I could cite examples of our team's success in doing that and constantly evolving and improving always in most aspects of our business, there's really not one that's more important to me than the progress we've made in safety. We've seen substantial improvements in safety in the past 24 months. There's no other way to say it. We were never highly unsafe, or I guess dangerous would be a better way to say it. But to give you a specific example, in that time frame, we've gone from kind of average among our peers to earning the distinction of the safest cat dealer in North America in 2020. And that's something that we're darn proud of. And, you know, really something we're shooting for in 21 as well.
Good stuff there. Will, what about Empower?
Empower, I know that we've done great. I know, like the same way for all the other divisions, you know, like our DART rates, our recordable rates, and everything looks great. You know, if you look at one thing we have been doing is our safety audits every month, and I know we do a monthly walkthrough with our managers and whatnot, and every time in Power Systems we're well above what our minimum is here at Carolina Cat or CTE. So that's, when you look at it from that standpoint, that coordinates with what happens in the field. The success that happens around the shops is the same thing that's going to happen on the field. You create a habit there when you're starting that, like when you're doing a kind of walkthroughs and audits and whatnot for what technicians are doing and the managers and supervisors. And looking through there, I know some things we've had good to happen was, you know, we've identified our top hazards that, you know, in our Power Systems divisions. We made good policy changes for that. You know, we've came up with great ideas for like near miss and job safety and JSAs and job safety assessments. And we've done that in the past, but we're trying to make sure we're doing that more on a regular basis here. And that's kind of contributing to some of the progress we're seeing in the Power Systems division. And I know within 2020, there was a lot of stuff, you know, with COVID, you couldn't get large groups, and we've done a great job of getting everybody trained and figure out, you know, solutions for that, doing stuff remotely, you know, and limited classes, and making sure we're still in compliance for our customers.
Dennis,
talk about. Go ahead, Jimmy. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to take the opportunity to say that some of the progress we've seen, of course, comes from having a best-in-class safety department and all the work you guys are doing, you folks are doing. So I was going to give you a shameless plug there, but also I give the credit to our technicians and our parts teams and our leaders across the division, just doing the work safely every day. You know, you just can't replace that. But you know,
we heard it from the top down too, from Ed Wisger, all the way down through senior leaders, that hey, we want all of our businesses 6S compliant, and there was no caps put on that. So that speaks volumes about our company.
Yeah, that says a lot for an organization when the president and CEO all the way down to everyone in the organization believes in zero, believes that we can go home safe every day. That's huge.
Yeah, I'd regret not saying also that we do have safety committees in our division as well at each branch. Those folks are awesome in what they do. They meet monthly to conduct, just like Jimmy and Will said, layered audits of the work groups, the facilities. They prioritize their own initiatives, manage their action items. And one thing that I've noticed about those, and I wanted to mention this since it was brought up, but you know, it's not like oh great, here comes the safety folks again. It's genuine appreciation from our teams that you know is expressed. So that to me is just kind of an indication of the value we're putting on safety. So didn't mean to jump in there, Dennis, but I wanted to recognize our folks at each of our branches on those safety committees, because it's huge what they're doing. So.
Well, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Will, was you going to say something? Are you good?
Yeah, that's. I know what we're talking about too. I mean, one of the main things too is just, you know, we can talk about all these policy changes and everything like that, but none of that means anything if you don't have good employees. And I know we're kind of brought that up too as well, but we've done a great job hiring the right people for the right jobs here at CTE. And if you do that, safety just becomes second nature when you're looking at that. So I also give a shout out for basically all the employees and technicians and everybody else, because I think we've done a great job of hiring and keeping the right people at CTE.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's shift gears a little bit. So we have over 600 drivers in our company, and that's one of probably our biggest risks that we have. And we try to make sure that we train them, and we make sure that we monitor what they're doing and stuff. So how do y'all promote safe driving in your each division, other than what comes from the safety department? Jimmy DeRosa, go ahead and start us.
Yeah. So Dennis, thank you. Just in the construction division alone, I think it's safe to say we have more than 200 vehicles on the road. We obviously cover a heck of a lot of ground. Protecting those folks that are driving the trucks and obviously the communities we serve is the top priority. So our trucks are equipped with telematics. They provide a great deal of visibility to our driving performance. And that brings with it accountability. I mentioned this term accountability a lot of times, but that's really where it starts. And it's not to say we're relying on just being punitive about poor driving performance. We also celebrate good driving performance. We recognize our folks that are out there doing it day in and day out, and and doing it safely. And I think, by and large, I think these folks understand that these telematics also help them stay safe, and also honestly limit liability for them in the event that there is an incident or something like that. So just one more thing, I'll mention kind of a corny but specific example. And you mentioned how do you get the message out, and thinking just in terms of reaching a remote workforce, whether it's with a safety message or any kind of reoccurring thing where you want to make sure folks are actually reading it. It's a concept, we call it the Easter egg, and it's just basically embedding a contest or something in your message every so often. And making the prize good enough to where it gets some folks talking among your teams. If you click through an email one day, it didn't read the safety share, and then your buddy got pick a prize, a Yeti or something. You're probably going to read it the next day. And honestly, all joking aside, it may be that message that keeps somebody safe that day or from doing an unsafe act. So it's worked well. I thought it was worth sharing with everybody.
No, that's good.
The Easter egg.
Will or Jimmy, anything to add on that on your safe driving? Jimmy, go ahead and go. We'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, well, I just want to echo what he was saying. We give out impact points. Most of our guys are road techs, so some of them, they drive a tremendous amount of miles every day, every week, every month, and every year for us. So we really try to echo with the impact points, and a lot of times just calling somebody up and just letting them know what a great job they're doing, and they're representing the company very well, and they're being a partner in their success, and then the people out on the highway as well, and really they're embedded in their values. And I shared the story before, but we had one of our technicians, he had a speed limit of 35 miles an hour on the road that he lived on. So every day he left. So our vehicle management device would actually make him a better driver with the beeps and make him slow down. And his wife, one day he was driving his personal car, and his wife looked over at him and said, what are you doing? Why are you, he goes, what are you talking about? She goes, you're driving 35 miles an hour. And he goes, you know what? He goes, I guess this thing's really training me to be a better driver. And anyway, it's a true story that the little things that CTE does as a whole, with safety glasses and the driving, the things we do outside of work, then I feel like that we're building a culture, not only of safe driving, but just safe practices, not only here, but outside of our organization. And that's something to be proud of.
Awesome. What about you, Will?
Yeah, I guess same way that everybody else. I know we do recognition points and stuff like that when we have, when people are looking, if they don't have any points or anything like that, we do what basically we have as far as, surveillance in the vehicles and stuff like that for speeding and, G-force and stuff like that, braking and seat belts. And we do that. And one thing we've done here, Power Systems, we pull a lot of trailers, low banks, a lot of rental equipment, compressors and whatnot. And what we've came up with, and we worked with HR Safety, is actually made a towing and hauling handbook. So we have pre-job checklists through there. We have how to check the tires, basically how to go through almost kind of a script basically just to go through there and make sure we're doing it correctly, because, going down the interstate and having a tire blowout, it can only damage equipment, can also, you can have damage somebody. You could either have an incident or have, say, somebody get injured, which is what you definitely don't want to have. So that's one things we're doing here, like I said, just recognition points. And we also have, if we do have an uptick in incidents and stuff like that, what we will do, we'll do like a safety stand down to make sure that actually when we're looking at like driving, it's not just something like hand injuries and stuff like that. It is serious, and it's not just serious, at work. It's also serious at home because you're doing no good to the company if you get hurt at home and you can't come into work. So it's kind of vice versa. So I think that's kind of a good thing we're kind of pushing through here at Power Systems.
That's great. We all three of y'all just brought up culture, and that's really the key to any successful safety program. The ultimate goal of any safety program at work is to take it home to your families. And when, just like you just said, Jimmy, about the wife asking why he was driving 35, she saw what he was doing, So how does the safety culture change here at CTE? I would, in the last few years. Will, I'll go ahead and you can go ahead and start on this one.
Yeah, when you talk about like a safety culture, it's basically the values and beliefs that shape the individual safety behavior. And when you get like a safety culture like that, when it's finally adopted in a company, it promotes like employees basically to prevent incidents from happening in the future. But the one thing to foster that, I think we've kind of already talked about that too as well. It's come from the top down. I mean, it comes from the president, it comes from the VPs, it comes from your supervisors. And it's not just something that we talk about in June because it's National Safety Month. It's something we talk about every meeting, before every meeting. It's something to talk about before we do every job. And we just want to make sure to foster that. We make sure that, our employees feel like they have a say-so in safety, like with the stop work authority and everything like that. But you just want to make sure that it's not something just added to a job. It is the part of the job. And I think that's kind of how we're kind of moving forward, adding that to our culture.
Okay. Jimmy DeRosa.
I like what Will said. No, I mean, that's a big one. I think in a nutshell, our safety culture is a place where it's really never out of bounds to call out an unsafe act, no matter who's performing it. And that anyone at any time has stop work authority, like Jimmy said. And like Will said, from the top of our organization, the message is that we put the safety of our folks in our community and our partners ahead of every other priority, and I think I feel good about saying that, I think we live that each day, a thousand little ways, 1,000 small ways every day, like having the right tool for a job, or, starting a shift with a pre-shift safety discussion, or reporting a near miss and then actually following up on it, make sure you put something in place to where it's not going to reoccur and jump up and bite us. But I think more than all that, not to get sappy, but I mean, I think everybody truly believes we have a duty to each other and to our partners to look out for one another. It's the responsibility of each of us. The best way I've ever really heard it said or put, and one that I think everybody can kind of identify with, I think most people, is to imagine your child works here. Look at your work environment. Look at the way you're approaching a task. Look at the way the person next to you is working, or the conditions or whatever, and then imagine your kid's safety dependent on that. I mean, that's pretty personal and it's pretty powerful, but it's that important. And everyone going home safely every day is just that important to each and every one of us. And that's what I think our culture kind of revolves around, and that's why we've got some momentum here, and we're getting better all the time. So that's it for me, Dennis.
Yep, awesome. Jimmy McKay.
That was great. That's tough following a Jimmy like that. So that was good. Him and Will done a great job. I just want to say, being part of our culture is our morals and our values. So just from the top down, I don't think every company out there, I don't know if they see the value in it. The other forklift companies, I don't know if they see the value in it like we do, but I know we're a trailblazing organization, and being a trusted partner in everybody's success means we have to take our game up to the next level. And I've seen us take our eye off of certain things, but since 2012, I will say this, Lift One, since we were bought, that we have not compromised on safety. So we've kept it right out on everybody's mind through communication, through email, through safety inspections, through appointing 6S champions at the branches. And I don't feel like people working here think that they're just a number. I think people here feel like they're part of a family, and that family cares for each other. I know it's, like I said, don't want to get too sappy, but that's part of what we do, that we're here to look after each other, as Jimmy and Will said, because at the end of the day, we want people to go home just like they came into work. And I think we take that personal here. I think we take it very personal that we work for a company that really cares for us that much and invest the amount of money. I've never had anybody come back and say, from our safety senior leaders, managers, from my boss to his boss to Ed, to say, hey, if it's something that we need and it's something that's going to keep our guys safe, then there's no question about it. We just do it. So I would say we're empowered to be safe, and we're given all the tools to do that.
Awesome. Awesome. Hey, I'm gonna throw y'all guys a little bit of one little curveball here. We do a lot of work, not only in our shops, but we do most of our work is out in the fields. So how do we go about making sure and ensuring those people out there in the field are doing what they're supposed to and they're working safely? Jimmy DeRosa, go ahead and start us.
Yeah, so that is a good one. You know, the expectations are no different from shop and field. You know, like I mentioned earlier, we ensure compliance with a high level of accountability, but like Jimmy said, it's also empowering folks to call out unsafe conditions and affording them really the best equipment out there to work safely. You know, our field technicians, we help them also stay in compliance with some pre-qualifiers before they, you know, go out in the field and work alone unsupervised. So they get a little more training specific to working remote, but there's really no different standard there from one to the other.
Yep. What about it, Will?
Yeah, we do I think we do a pretty good job here too as well. We have a good mixture of work inside the shop and outside the shop. And one thing we want to do, I think Jimmy talked about this earlier in construction, that we try to do, like, say, a standard work and stuff like that. And when you do something like when you do, say, standard work, that you try to, no matter if you're doing a job here at the shop or you're doing a job out in the field, you're doing it the exact same way. And, you know, we're pushing compliance towards, like, you know, JSAs and stuff like that. So when we're thinking about the same things here that we are out in the field, and we also do the same things as far as, you know, when we have a new hire on, we just don't push them out in the field. They're with a senior tech for a couple months, and just make sure that before we're actually, and one thing we do, our supervisors do a great job. If we do have a job, that they put the correct person on that job too as well. You're not going to throw somebody on there that they don't feel comfortable with. And that's kind of a good thing. We know when we look at our technicians and their levels and stuff like that, we know what they feel comfortable with before they go out to that job.
Nice. Jimmy McKay?
That's a great point, Will. I like that. Putting the right guy on the right job. We have guys that are specialized in different things. So making sure first and foremost, we have the right guy on the right job. And then we were just talking about this morning, about safety as far as van inspections and making sure that a guy has chocks, or making sure a guy has wheel stands, or making sure he has straps. The safety chains that are rated and been inspected is huge. Making sure that we've equipped the guy before he goes out with everything he needs. And then they know this is a relationship business, and they know we frequent these customers, and we're encouraged to get out and just see what's going on in the fields for ourselves. So we do a lot of that too. I was out last week, and when I pulled up to a customer, guy was working on 280, had his cut gloves on, safety glasses, and he didn't know I was coming. So I think it's a big part of we hire the right people, and then there's a large amount of active trust because we can't be there, all every day, but making sure that we've equipped that guy, have the right guy on the job, he's got the right PPE with him, and he knows how to use it, and then also the whole point of, if we build a culture of safety, then we know things are being done out in the field like it should.
Good. I think we do, Nikki, I think we had a question come in.
We sure did. Thanks, all of you. Y'all been great. So this question is actually going to be for the four of you. There's been a ton of experience between all of y'all. Have there been any major shifts in safety over the course of your career? So have there been improvements in equipment and PPE, OEM procedures? What are your thoughts there?
So I believe,
Go ahead, Jimmy.
yes, over the 26 years, the greater focus, I believe, is things like the rated straps, the rated chains. Used to, guys will pull stuff out, chains that wasn't rated. They may have went to a big box, Home Depot or something like that, and picked some chains up. And the focus that we put on, as far as having the right, we went from oak blocks, which that used to be acceptable, to jack up forklifts and to secure them. Now we use CBI stands. Not saying a oak block is bad, it's just there's a better way. So those type things in our industry, making sure things have a rating. One of the biggest shifts is a lot of guys may have a lot of homemade stuff out in the shop that they use for rigging and jacking and securing. That's just not acceptable anymore. We go through the shops. If there's something homemade, it has to be thrown away, and you have to buy a shackle, a hook, a chain that's actually rated, so a guy can look at it, look at what he's picking up, and know he can do it safely. So that's been one of the biggest shifts that I've seen so far, as far as just keeping our guys safe, and then really pushing the cut gloves. I think we're seeing hand injuries go down a lot for that. So it's kind of it on my side.
Will?
Yeah, from the electrical standpoint, I know over the past, I would say even probably the past 10 years or 20 years, there's, the big thing we've had from an electrical standpoint is that back in the day, people just wear a t-shirt and jeans, working on switchgear, getting into an ATS or doing any kind of electrical testing. And what that's changed over the years, they went to, we've done there's a lot better things for calculating arc flash. I know that, look at MPA 70E. I know there's a lot of things like with OSHA that's showing the dangers of that and what could happen. And that kind of shifted over, better PPE. I know if you look at it, we used to have, they're almost like a spacesuit, basically, for some of the stuff we're racking in now, breakers. That stuff is actually, over the past few years is basically almost wearing like a normal jacket and a hood. You don't have to have the vent and stuff like that, which is nice. I know that more of our customers on the new sales side are doing arc flash studies. So when you're working on equipment, that's kind of become more of a requirement. So when we get out in the field, we know what the calorie rating is, and we know what we can work on, what we can't work on, and what we can de-energize. And I know you have a lockout, tagout procedures that's changed over the years. It's been adopted for pretty much every company. That's our customers and us as well. So there's a big transition between from really just technology, remote racking tools for breakers. It's made our jobs a lot safer and better equipment too as well.
I think I want to chime in on one more thing. I think safety now is more proactive than it is reactive. Just like to put that in there too.
Jimmy DeRosa.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point, Jimmy. And thinking of the question, I think, to answer it straight up, it has improved, not only in terms of the machines we work on, but also hand tools and things like that, and PPE. there's been a pretty big evolution in the 17 years that I've been around it. So I would say yes. I think there's probably been some little bit of a bell-shaped curve. You know, the grinders came out with more, as an example, came out with more guarding, and then, you know, people thought those were dumb and took them off. And then I think now we're starting to get, I think there's more buy-in and more thought process around, you know, they're there for a reason and they're there to protect you, and folks are using them as they're intended. Not to say that ever happened in our shops, Dennis, but, you know, just as an example, I think, you know, there's been a lot of, you know, if you look at just some basic hand tools, that's the first thing that comes to mind. Also lifting equipment, you know, not only the technology around it, but how the inspections work and how, you know, rigorous the testing is for that stuff. And thinking of like machine interlocks and lockout tagouts and things like that, yeah, definitely it's a lot more deliberate acts, what you have to do to engage a machine and get it to travel or an implement work or something like that. So yeah, to answer the question, I think there has been a big evolution, but I would say, you know, none of that, no matter how technologically advanced it gets, replaces just good common sense and keeping your head in the game. So
Excellent. And then I have one more question. You talked about incentives and a reward system to promote safe driving, and Jimmy, you even mentioned Easter eggs. What about for PPE? How do each of you at CTE drive safety compliance for PPE?
We do have a strict PPE policy, and we give our folks very timely and specific feedback if there's an issue or something's not in place, but thankfully we do well with that. You know, we do have a lot of different standard PPE setups for different tasks, like I mentioned earlier, metal striking or obviously cutting or welding or something like that. But yeah, so it gets involved. Jimmy McKay mentioned earlier, like different cut level gloves. So based on what you're doing, whether that's installing sprocket segments, which we know are sharp, you should have a cut level 5 or a cutting edge or something like that. Where we know those plow bolts get very sharp, you should have a level 5 on. And, you know, if you're doing tedious, you know, electrical work or working with a harness or something, you can reduce that down to level 2. So it's not just a matter of put your safety glasses on. There's a lot that goes into proper PPE and you know, holding not only our technicians and our parts teams accountable, but each and every one of us as we, you know, walk through the shop or, you know, without our high vis vest on or something like that. I mean, it's something that is on everybody to police, I guess. Nikki would be the best way to answer it.
Yeah, you know, one thing I'll say about the PPE, once people realize what the benefit is, you know, whether they don't lose a finger or have to have stitches in their hands or stuff like that, or even in the safety glasses, you know, you used to see a lot of people with safety glasses walking around on top of their head, which is doing them absolutely no good. But, you know, the thing is with that, to get your people to buy in on the PPE, you got to give them quality product as well. You know, you can go buy 99 cents for a pair of safety glasses, or you can go pay $10 or $12. It's going to last them for a lot longer. That's not going to fog up when they're sweating and out there in the heat. So, you know, we try to get the best we can for our people, just so that way, one, there's no excuse for not wearing the PPE. But two, we want to make sure that they all go home safe too. So, Jimmy or Will, anything to add there?
I think one good thing too, I mean, everybody's done a great job explaining, but I know one thing we do here is just have a buddy system almost in a way. It's kind of like talking about being family oriented. If I go out in the shop, the teachers, if I'm coming from the office, you know, we'll have one of the technicians will be like, point to my eyes, you know, put safety glasses on. So that's kind of another thing is too, you know, it's kind of doing your walkthroughs and whatnot is also just to have talk about the culture. Just make sure all the employees are kind of engaged with that. So everybody's kind of looking out for one another.
Yeah, we have to reward that. I believe I walked by a guy in Tuscaloosa. He didn't know I was at the branch, and I seen him out. He was cleaning his van up, which is great. You know, running around with billboards. He was cleaning it up real nice, but he had all his PPE on. He had his face shield on, gloves, the apron when he was pressure washing his van out. And I gave him some impact points, done a little write up, sent it out. So I know we have to be managers and hold people accountable when they don't do it right. But I think also here, you know, we're afforded the opportunity to reward people when they are doing it right and getting it right.
Yep. Yeah, I walk around with coins in my pocket. You know, I'm an old military guy, so I walk around with coins in my pocket. And when people go above and beyond what they're supposed to, I give them a coin and I say, hey, go tell your, there you go, Jim. I tell your boss to go buy you lunch one day. They're kind of scary, so I don't hand them out freely. But when people go above and beyond what they're supposed to be doing every day, I reward those guys and gals for doing that. I would like to thank Jimmy, Will, and Jimmy McKay for being our panelists today. This has been enjoyable, and it's actually just, you know, fun sitting here going back and forth and talking. I also want to thank each one of outside of the organization that were able to join us today on our safety journey. It's a continuous work in progress. I want to thank each one of you, and hopefully everybody has a safe day, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all.
All right, thank you.